Zaro's salary, $12 net worth. This is how. Mascot character sits at a small kitchen table, opening a laptop showing a bank app. The balance reads $12,347,000. He has no name tag, no suit, no office badge. Marcus hasn't earned a paycheck in 6 years, no W-2, no direct deposit, no boss. And yet right now, sitting in his account, is $12,347,000. If you looked at his tax return, you'd think he was broke. $0 of salary, $0 of earned income. But if you looked at his balance sheet, you'd think he was one of the richest men in his zip code. This isn't a trick. It isn't a loophole for criminals. It's a strategy that some of the wealthiest people in the world have quietly used for decades. And almost nobody teaches it because it doesn't look impressive on a resume. Today, we're breaking down exactly how someone builds a fortune with a zero salary and the financial principles behind it that you can actually use no matter how much you make. Part 1. The problem with salary. Here's the first thing to understand. A salary is the slowest way to get rich because it's taxed the hardest and paid the latest. When you earn a salary, here's the order of operations. 1. You do the work. 2. The government takes its cut before the money ever touches your hands. Federal tax, state tax, payroll tax. 3. Whatever's left lands in your checking account. 4. Only then can you decide to save or invest it. Economists call this active income. You trade hours for dollars, and the moment you stop trading hours, the dollars stop coming. It's linear. There's a ceiling. You only have so many hours a day, and eventually taxes and time both work against you. Marcus figured out something different. What if income wasn't the goal? What if ownership was? Part 2. The shift from income to assets, 2, 30, 4 or 30. This is the core idea, so let's slow down. There are 2 ways money can grow. Asterisk, money you get paid for doing something. Appreciation, money your assets earn simply for existing. A salary is income, a rental property going up in value, a stock portfolio compounding, a business generating profit without you clocking in. That's appreciation. The wealthy don't avoid salaries because they're lazy. They avoid salaries because appreciation is taxed differently, grows exponentially instead of linearly, and doesn't require them to personally show up every day to keep earning. Here's a simple way to picture it. If you have a job, you are the engine. If you have assets, the engine works without you. Marcus spent his 20s building several small engines, not one big flashy business, but a handful of them. A portfolio of dividend-paying index funds, 2 small rental properties, a stake in a business he helped start but doesn't run day-to-day. N of these pay him a salary. All of them pay him in a different currency. Growth. Part 3. How's no salary actually to 7? This is where people get confused, so let's be precise. Having a zero salary doesn't mean zero income. It means Marcus's income doesn't come in the form the IRS calls wages. Instead, it comes as 1. Capital gains, when an asset, like a stock or property, increases in value and you sell it. That profit is a capital gain. If you hold the asset for more than a year, it's taxed as a long-term capital gain, which in the US has a lower tax rate than ordinary income, often instead of 22%, 24% or higher. Dividends. Some companies pay shareholders a portion of profits just for holding the stock. Qualified dividends are also taxed at that same lower long-term capital gains rate. 3. Rental income and depreciationist. Real estate produces rental income, but the tax code allows owners to deduct depreciation, a paper loss representing the building wearing down over time, even while the property is actually going up in value. This can offset rental income so much that, on paper, it looks like a loss even though real cash is coming in. 4. Business distributions. If you own a stake in a business structured properly, like an LLC or S-Corp, You can take distributions of profit that are taxed differently than a salary and are not subject to payroll taxes like Social Security and Medicare. None of this shows up as salary on a tax form. That's why someone can have a zero salary and still pay for groceries, rent, vacations, everything, using money the tax code treats completely differently than a paycheck. Part 4. Why this isn't avoiding tax illegally. 7-8-30. Let's be clear about something important. This strategy is not tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal, hiding income, lying about earnings, not reporting money you made. What Marcus does is tax planning, using the rules exactly as written, the same way a homeowner uses a mortgage interest deduction or a parent uses a child care tax credit. The tax code isn't neutral. It's written in part to encourage certain behaviors. Owning real estate, housing supply, stability, investing in businesses, job creation, economic growth, holding assets long-term instead of flipping them. Market stability. People who understand this aren't cheating. They're responding to incentives the government put in place on purpose. The information isn't secret. It's public tax law. Most people just never get taught how to use it because school teaches you how to get a job, not how to leave the job income system entirely. Part 5. The unglamorous truth. How it actually starts. 8-30-11. Here's the part most videos skip. Marcus wasn't born into this. For 9 years he had a completely normal salaried job, payroll taxes, a 9 to 5. The whole thing, the difference wasn't some secret. It was this: he treated his salary as seed money, not spending money. Every year, before lifestyle crept in, he redirected a fixed percentage of his paycheck, not what was left over, but a number decided in advance, into assets. First into a retirement account, then into index funds outside of retirement accounts. Then, once he had enough saved, into a down payment on a small rental property. The order matters. 1. Emergency fund first, 3 to 6 months of expenses. So a bad month doesn't force you to sell assets at the wrong time. Point 2. Tax-advantaged accounts. Next, retirement accounts that grow without being taxed every year. Point 3. Taxable investing after that. Building a portfolio outside retirement accounts for flexibility. Point 4. Income-producing assets last. Rental property, business stakes, once there's a stable base underneath. This isn't a get-rich-quick path. It took Marcus roughly a decade of a normal salary before the assets grew large enough to replace that salary entirely. The zero salary phase isn't the starting point. It's the finish line of a much longer, quieter process. Part 6. What this means for you. 11-13. You don't need $12 million or a portfolio of rental properties to use this thinking. The principle scales down. Every dollar you don't spend can either sit in cash or start acting like a tiny employee that earns you more money. A $500 investment in an index fund isn't going to replace anyone's salary, but it's the same mechanism, just smaller. Understand the difference between income and net worth. A high salary with no savings can leave you with a lower net worth than someone earning far less who consistently buys assets. Learn what your tax-advantaged accounts actually do. A 401 or IRA isn't just a retirement thing. It's one of the few legal ways an average person can shield growth from taxes for decades. Time in the market matters more than timing the market. Marcus's portfolio didn't grow because he predicted the next big stock. It grew because he stayed invested for over 15 years and let compounding do the heavy lifting. The uncomfortable truth is that this system rewards patience more than intelligence. Most people who reach a zero salary, asset-funded lifestyle didn't do anything exotic. They just did ordinary things, saving, investing, holding, for an extraordinarily long time, and let the tax code reward that patience. Visual. Mascot closes the laptop, walks outside into daylight. No suit, no commute. Just an ordinary house on an ordinary street. Asterisk narrator VO. Marcus doesn't look rich. He drives a car that's 8 years old. His house isn't the biggest one on the block. But underneath that ordinary life is a financial structure most people never get taught. Income isn't the goal. Ownership is zero salary, 12 million net worth. Not a trick, a strategy built slowly, using rules that have existed the whole time. If this kind of thinking is new to you, that's normal. It's not taught in school. But it's not too late to start applying it, $1 at a time.